Hey everyone, Mr. W here. Our topic today is least common multiple, also known as LCM. By the end of this video, you will be able to find the least common multiple of two whole numbers not greater than 12. Let's jump in. What is the least common multiple of 3 and 5? Well, least means smallest. The C stands for common, which means the same. And we'll get into that more later. And M stands for multiple. Multiple means that when you multiply, you get a product. And multiples and products are kind of like the same thing. So in this case, we have two numbers, 3 and 5. So the first thing we'll do is make something called a T-chart. So we list the 3, and now I list the 5. And in this column, I'm going to write the multiples of 3. For example, if I go 3 times 1, that equals 3. 3 times 2 would be 6. 3 times 3, 3 times 4, and so forth and so on. Now you could also find this information on a multiplication table. If you look under the 3, you'll see that we have counting by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and on like that. So I'm going to continue our multiples of 3. There's no rule that how many you have to do. Just for this example, I'll do a few. I think I'll stop at 30. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do multiples of 5. In other words, when you multiply 5 times 1, it's 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And again, we're just showing you the same information that you could find on a multiplication. In other words, counting by 5s. So all these are multiples of 5. You probably don't even really need that many. Now, we said, so here's our multiples. So for example, here are multiples of 3, multiples of 5, and we want the least common. Well, common means same, and least means smallest. So I'm just going to compare our list and look for the same number, but the smallest one. I don't see 3 down here. Let's see 6, 9. I don't see 12, but I do see 15 on both lists. So our answer for the least common multiple of 3 and 5, our answer we would say, well, that is 15. And that's what we're doing today. Some vocabulary. Least means smallest. Common means same. And multiple, for example, when we multiply 2 times 3 equals 6, we know that 2 times 3 are factors and that 6 is called the product. But the product we could also describe as being a multiple. So in other words, 6, it is a product, but it is also a multiple. So let's look into multiples a little bit more. Like we said, using a multiplication table. And I just kind of replicated a multiplication or part of it. Again, just something that looks like this. I'm only going to do a few. So again, if I look at multiples of 2, what we're looking at is 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3. But many of you count by twos, 2, 4, 6, and that's the same thing, 8, 10, and so on. And it's always a great idea to work towards memorizing your multiples, right? I'm intentionally left off 1 and 3 and 5 just so that we can focus on the idea. And remember that these here are multiples of 2, the ones in the yellow. That is not a multiple, that is a factor. Remember what we're multiplying, we said up here, the numbers that you multiply are called factors. So in this case, if I'm saying 2 times, 1 or 2 times 2, these are factors, but the ones in yellow are called multiples, right? And it's the same idea with 4. We would be counting by fours, or in other words, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 would be 8. 4 times 3. And you really want to get to the point that you know these by memory. 4, 8, 12, 16. Takes a little bit of practice, but it's definitely something that you can do. And 48. So these here are multiples of what? Multiples of 4. I'm going to skip over 5, but yes, in a normal chart that would be filled out, but let's just focus on 6. It's the same thing. I'm going to write multiples of 6. In other words, 6 times 1 would be 6. 6 times 2 would be 12. 6 times 3 would be 18. 6 times 4, and you get the idea. And honestly, you can memorize these as well. It's really not that hard. Just takes a little bit of practice. But I'll tell you, it sure makes math go a lot better when you know your multiplication facts by memory, right? And finally, so that's what we mean in our vocabulary. We said least common multiple just means the smallest multiple that's the same when you're given a list. And we just reviewed multiples. Okay. Steps are real easy today. Make a t-chart. I showed you that on the first example, and we'll look at that again. Then you list your multiples, and then you just circle the least common multiple. What is the least common multiple of 2 and 3? Well, this is a nice, easy example. So we would just make a t-chart. Just helps for organization. It's not really a rule, but it just helps to keep things organized. And we're going to put the 2 and the 3. Multiples of 2 would be, 2 times 1 is 2 and so forth. So 2, like counting by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8. And the more you do this, you'll get a feel. I probably didn't even have to list this many. Um, it's not really a rule. There's no rule that says you have to list 10 or something. Sometimes you can list a couple. I just listed a few to show the example. Let's do multiples of 3. Well, if I did 3 times 1, that would be 3. 3 times 2 would be 6, and so forth. And I just know that if I count by threes, it would look like this. And 21. So we made our t-chart, right? That was this. We listed our multiples. They're in yellow. And now we just circle the least common multiple. Just going to compare top and bottom. We don't use these. No. 4. No. Here we go. It would be 6. So our least common multiple of 2 and 3 are 6. Now, if you look carefully, you will also see 12, right? And 12 here. Remember, we're looking for the least. So even though 12 is common, they would call that a common multiple. We're looking for the least. So we're really just looking for the 6 when you see least common multiple. Let's try one a little bit harder, right? Medium. Working on my medium face. I guess that's a medium face. What is the least common multiple of 3 and 7? I'm not going to make it in yellow this time, but first step is we make our T-chart. That's really easy to do. And I write 3 and 7. Multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. I'm going to stop at 27. And if you don't do enough, you can always add a few more. Now I'm going to do multiples of 7. Now, if you're not clear about this, remember, it is fine to use your multiplication table. I don't have a problem with that. But you do really want to work on memorizing your facts. And you can see here, multiples of 7 would be, let's just do a couple, 7, 14, 21, 28. So we would say 7 times 1 would be 7, 7 times 2 is 14, and so forth. 21, 28. Now I know them by memory. I guess I'll show off a little bit, right? Write these down, but you'll get them. You'll get them. And 63. And then our last step to find the least common multiple is just to circle our least common multiple, meaning that on the top and bottom, we don't include, these here. It's not going to be 3, 6, oh, yikes. 9, no, 12, I don't see, 15, 8, 21. Here we go. So the least, notice that I'm on both lists. Our least common multiple of 3 and 7, we would say, well, that would be 21. A little bit harder. So I guess this is, right? What is the least common multiple of 5 and 8? So first step, you remember? Make a T chart. And we write 5, 8. Well, 5s are easy, right? 5, 10, 20, 25, 30, 40. And multiples of 8. Again, you can use your, nothing wrong with that. Again, just try to memorize them. 8 times 1 would be 8, right? 16. 8 times 3 would be 24, 32. And right here, I remember writing 40. See that? So I'm not going to go any further. So our last step is to circle, right? And so our least common multiple of 5 and 8 would be 40. Last one, I promise. This is like impossibly hard. You probably can't even do it, right? This is just too hard. What is the least common multiple of 3 numbers? 6, 9, and 12. So I don't know. What is an impossible face? Is this impossible? So this is like really, really this is an impossible one. No, I'm kidding. So we're just going to make a T-chart like always for 3 this time. And we're just going to do the same steps, 6, 9, and 12. 6 would be, 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, and so forth, 18, 24. And just keep working to memorize. And I'll do one more. We'll say 48, right? 9 would be 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Now, right away, I see that, but remember, we got to have it down here, and I don't think we're going to get there. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. 63 and 72. 12s, again, it's on your chart. 12 times 1 is 12. Then you'd get 24, 36. And right here, I remember seeing, so our least common multiple. You say, well, what about 6? No, I don't see 6 here. What about 12? It's here, right? But do you see it for the 9? So no, it has to be on all three. 18, yes, but it's not here. We cannot use that. 24. Yes, I see 24 down here, but do you see 20? So 9 seems to be the troublemaker, right? 30. No. 36. 36. There we go. So it has to be, in this case, on all three lists. So the least common multiple of 6, 9, and 12 would be 36. So review today. Our lesson is least common multiple. Usually, they'll use LCM for least common multiple. We didn't go above, whole numbers above 12. We said that there are multiples are numbers that you multiply or, counting by. They're also called products, and it's a good idea to use your multiplication table. You want to memorize your facts. And the first step is that we make a t-chart. The second step is that we list our multiples for each of the numbers, which we did here. And the third and last step is that you just simply circle the least common multiple after you check the top and the bottom numbers and look for the same numbers. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope this was helpful. We'll see you next time.